Hello there, folks. My name is Adam Franklin, and I'm here today to take you through some training on how to build a marketing engine. As you would have seen on that intro slide, I'm the author of Web Marketing That Works, and I'm here today to take you through how to build a marketing engine that produces inbound leads, that gives you a system to attract and nurture and convert your leads and prospects, and how to leverage all the different types of content marketing so that you've got all the building blocks in place to build this marketing engine. So before we get right into it, I'd love you just to have a think about whether you feel you're a green, amber, or red on a traffic light system. So if I share my screen here, if you're a red, it would mean there's not really much in place yet. If you're an amber, it would mean that you've got some building blocks, but they're not all complete, or they're not performing as well as you would like, and maybe there's a few missing ingredients that you're just not sure about yet. And if you're green, you've got most of the building blocks in place. It's working, but it could actually improve. So wherever you are at on that traffic light system, what you'll learn today will boost you towards green, or make your green even stronger. The next thing I want you to keep in mind is think about what are some of the roadblocks, the objections, the hesitations, or the fears that you have when it comes to digital marketing. The reason I ask that is because until we can actually confront or address the things that might be holding us back, it's going to impede our ability to actually implement this stuff. So I'm going to show you how to break through the most common objections, but just have a think now. What are the objections or fears you've got when it comes to digital marketing? Now, the most common the most common fears are: one, I don't have the time; two, I don't know what to say or what to publish; three is it doesn't work; and four, what happens if I get negative comments and it undoes all the good work that I've done? Now, let's tackle these one by one. Now, if you don't have the time, so first thing, we've all got 24 hours in a day, and we're all busy, and we've all got businesses to run and clients to serve and products to create and sell. So what I want you to take away from this training is that every time you build a digital asset, whether it's one of these building blocks for your marketing engine, or whether it's, like for example, a video or an article or a lead magnet, what that does is it allows the digital version of you or that asset to be doing the heavy lifting. So every time you put something in place as part of this marketing ecosystem, it's a digital asset. It lives online and it doesn't require your day-to-day time to maintain. All right, so by contrast, every time that you have a telephone conversation or a live Zoom meeting or a real life meeting, that's taking up your time. Whereas a digital asset is working 24/7 for you. So as you build out your digital marketing engine, what you're actually doing is freeing up more of your real life time because the digital assets are doing the heavy lifting for you. Not only that, those digital assets can be seen by more than one person at a time. All right, so you might do a video, for example. It might be seen by 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people. And so you can see how by building the asset once, you can then get leverage and scale from that. And that's going to be a lot better for your time management and for your real life time than saying what you said in the video to 100 people individually. So that's the first thing. The time factor, it plays in your favor when you build these digital assets. The second thing, I don't know what to say. So I get it. There are lots of different social media platforms. We're going to examine them shortly. There's all these things you've heard about, like SEO and lead magnets, landing pages, backlinks, content, email systems, all of that. So it's very confusing sometimes to know, well, where do all these pieces fit in the puzzle, and which of those do I use? And when I am on them, what should I be saying? What type of content should I be publishing? So we're going to jump into all of those in this training today. Third objection is it doesn't work. And to this objection, I always say, well, think about your own purchasing decisions or your own business decisions, and who are the people that you've been buying from? How did you first get to know these people, meet these people, get to know, like, and trust these people? And very often, nearly always, not necessarily exclusively, but there is a very strong digital component to how you got to know, like, and trust the people that you buy from. And so when we do this ourselves, when we put these digital building blocks in place to build our ecosystem or our marketing engine, that is allowing people to get to know, like, and trust you. And that is nearly always the process people go through when they're making their purchase decisions. So it definitely does work. I'm sure you've experienced people inquiring or doing business with you for something that you've done online. But of course, that leads us to the fourth most common objection, and that is, well, what actually happens if I get negative comments? So whether it's a negative Google review or a negative comment on Facebook, or people saying unsavory things about me online. And in the reality of this world, that can happen. It does happen all the time. You've only got to scroll through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram to see some of the negative comments that people will say about businesses. But firstly, people are going to say stuff anyway, whether you're on online or doing digital marketing. People can still be saying this stuff anyway. But secondly, we need a plan in place so that we have a process to respond to these types of people or these types of comments in a meaningful way, and that increases the way that we are perceived in the marketplace. Now, of course, some comments are going to be genuine. Some of them may be made up or fake comments. I've got a strategy to handle both of those. But bear in mind that getting negative comments doesn't really happen that often, and it certainly shouldn't be something that inhibits you from getting started. Otherwise, we're leaving a whole lot of value on the table by not participating and not building a digital marketing engine. So team, let's kick off. I just want to talk you through the digital landscape for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and digital professionals. And I'm just going to jump over to my iPad to share this with you. All right. And I do have a template version of the content I'm about to share with you now. But let's talk you through it. So look, at the end of the day, when we're running a business, we do have we do want to be guiding people towards commercial outcomes. Okay, so we do want to have people, clients, paying you money for your goods, services, products, etc. So that's the end goal. But in order for people to be buying from you, typically they'll need to make some sort of inquiry. So we need to have that stage in the journey. And typically before that, they will need to have connected with you somehow, whether that's subscribing to an email list, whether it's joining a Facebook group, but some way of getting to know, like, and trust you. And typically, the first thing, one of the best ways to entice people into your ecosystem is to have some sort of download. Now, you might call that a lead magnet. In my book, I refer to that as flagship content. All words with the same sort of meaning. So what we want to actually be doing is guiding people through this process, from downloading something to then having that connection with them, whether it's email or social media, to then building that know, like, and trust factor so that when they are ready, or that you do make an offer, they are keen to put their hand up and make an inquiry. And then from that, you can have your sales call or send them the sales page or the product page, and then you can get to the commercial outcomes up here. So what you'll actually notice as well is that throughout this process, what we're doing is we are building trust. So we're increasing trust basically from you being a stranger on the internet to being a trusted supplier. So the next question then is, how can we build digital assets so that all this stuff can take place? So let's look at all the different building blocks. Typically in the center of your universe will sit your website. Now, of course, depending on how sophisticated you get, you may have landing pages on your website as well. You may have sales pages, order pages, all of that. But essentially, think of your website as core, one of the core building blocks, because it's typically from your website that people are able to download something or connect with you, and then they can enter into this nurture process. Now, it might just be a standalone landing page where people can download a resource, and that's enough to bring people into your marketing ecosystem, but that is typically how it will happen. So the next question is, if over on the right here is, this is how we build trust and we nurture people towards a sale, the landing page or the website is the mechanism where people will very often actually download the lead magnet, or they will join your mailing list. How then do we get more people, more traffic to these areas? Now, one of the main ways that can happen is through Google. Let me just write that out. Or search engine. So people type a word into that search box, and then they're either going to click on the organic search results, that's known sort of as SEO, or they're going to click on the Google Ads, pay-per-click it's known as, or search engine marketing, and that is going to drive people to your core area, which is either your website or your landing page. So that's one main way that people can find you and discover you. The second way people can discover you is through backlinks and PR. So what I mean by that is when somebody writes about you on a third-party website, or even you publish something on a third-party website, those are ways that people can discover you as well. So specific examples are people might write about you on blogs. You might even write a guest blog for somebody else, and that puts you in front of their audience. You might get mentioned in a news publication or a news website. You might publish an infographic that gets shared on people's websites or social media platforms. Now, all of these are ways that people can discover you and they can enter into your digital marketing ecosystem. You might do things like joint ventures. There's all sorts of different ways that people can discover you via backlinks and PR. And thirdly, the other way that people can stumble across you and your business online is through social media. Now, of course, social media is quite a broad term. It can include things like Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, Twitter. It could be a podcast show. It could be Snapchat if you're on that. It could be TikTok. It could be YouTube. It could be Pinterest or anything like that. So there's all these different social media platforms that you could choose to be on. And each of those is going to potentially feed people up into your website or your landing page. And the social media is driven by the content marketing. So at a high level, that is like the 30,000 foot view of your digital marketing universe. Now, the important thing to realize is you don't need to be on all of these platforms all at once. I'm just laying them out for you so you know what's there. And in fact, I do have a one-page marketing strategy that actually outlines what I've just sketched out for you as a handy resource for you. And of course, this is available in the Deal Fuel library. So you can see here, if I zoom in, you've got your website in the middle. You've got the different ways for people to buy from you. They might buy, it might be an upsell, it might be a paid membership. You've got different ways people can inquire. You've got the different ways people can connect, whether it's an email newsletter, marketing funnel or autoresponder, webinars or Facebook Lives. They might connect with you on social media or through through your messenger chat account, your bot. And there's different options for the free download, whether it's a flagship content or lead magnet, some sort of valuable giveaway. So team, if you want to get your hands on that diagram, either take a screenshot or head to the Deal Fuel library to access that. You'll also see all the different types of backlinks and PR that you might focus on. Wikipedia, Quora, Dig, StumbleUpon, Reddit. These are all different sort of communities online where you can be setting up a profile, publishing content, or even people just talking about you in general, which is all new and valuable pathways into your marketing ecosystem. Now, on that, I've got that resource. I mean, you can print it out I use it all the time. My clients use it all the time. I've shared this resource far and wide. But on the back side, you'll also see that there's an area for you to fill out. So the front side lets you decide which areas do I want to focus on. And again, you don't need all of them. You can just tick the parts that you want to do. You might say, I'm just going to do podcast interviews. I'm just going to publish them on YouTube and on a podcast platform. And that's going to be your content marketing strategy. Other people are going to, well, I much prefer just doing an email newsletter. And I'm going to have an email newsletter and a Facebook group. So you don't need to spread yourself too thin and be on all of them, if that's going to be detrimental. What you'd much prefer to do is to pick a couple that you're good at and that you like and really double down on those. But if we move then to the second page, this is where you've got an area to actually map out your strategy. So it's going to be different for each person, but what you really want to do is use this single page to get very clear on, firstly, who is your ideal client, like who's buying from you, and then put in a little description of that person. Then you want to think, well, what actions are they going to take? What problems are we solving here? So you can fill that in here. The problems you're solving for the buyer, maybe that's you're helping them track their time better or lose weight or save time in a Google sheet or something, or coaching them towards better clients or better relationship outcomes. So what's the problem you're solving? And then think about, what actions do I want them to actually take? So the purchase, inquire, connect, and free download, that lines up to the front page here. So what is it you've got? What's your sort of core offer? What are they purchasing? In which case, write that in. It might be a coaching program, or it might be a $100 product that you sell from your website. And then work your way down. How are they going to inquire? Is it a contact us form? Do I put my cell phone number on there? Do I encourage people to email me? That's up to you. Next down, how are they going to connect? So am I going to be using LinkedIn as my primary platform? And I recommend that if you're a B2B type of business, or maybe it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I always do recommend having email as one of the core things that you focus on building your email list, mainly because you own that asset. You're not at the mercy of the algorithms on Facebook or Instagram or what have you. And then, well, what can I offer people as a free download or a lead magnet that's going to be valuable enough for people to want to put their hand in the air and say, here's my name, here's my email, I really want this piece of content. Then as we work our way down the page, why would people buy from you? Like, how are you different? How are you remarkable in the marketplace? And what social proof, or what proof have you got of that? So do you have guarantees, testimonials, press mentions, those types of things? So pop that in the why area. Then we want to think about, where are these ideal customers? Where do they hang out? Are they using Google to search for stuff? Are they following certain blogs? Are they more active on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn? And then just put in the primary areas that your ideal clients hang out. You might also put in who they trust. Like, do they trust certain publications or certain bloggers or certain influencers? All this helps you get a very clear idea of your sweet spot client and where you need to be active as well. So as we move down, how are we going to put this into practice? So content is king. You've probably heard Gary Vaynerchuk say. So the content is definitely important. Absolutely, it's got to solve people's problems. But also, content is king, but marketing is queen. So where you publish and where you distribute that content is just as important as the content itself. In fact, more important. So what will you publish? Articles, videos, what are we going to be talking about? Is it like how-to training stuff? Is it more high level insights? That's what you've got to decide. And then also keep in mind, like, what keywords are people actually typing in to Google or other search engines? Like, are they looking for ways to fix a certain problem or overcome this or achieve an outcome? So plug that into the template there. Then type in the marketing tactics, like the platforms you're going to focus on. For example, blog and Twitter might be the two for you. And then we just need to worry about, well, when are we going to do it? What can I do this week, this month, this quarter, and this year? So you've got a plan. And then down the bottom right, we just have a bit of a scorecard. So you can have your goal and then their actual results. So if you want to make 100 purchases of your product, great. Well, maybe you need 200 inquiries to achieve that. That might mean you need 1,000 people or 2,000 people in your network. And that might mean, you might need 3,000 people downloading your stuff because some will opt out and not be part of the community. And then you can just literally track how you're going against those results. Okay, team, so that is the one-page marketing plan. Again, you can download that for free in the Deal Fuel library. But the next thing we want to do is think about how are we going to leverage our content. Okay, so how do we leverage the content? Now, to give a bit of context and an analogy, here's a set of stairs that you may or may not recognize depending on where in the world you've been. But this is a set of stairs that goes down into a cave in a place called Bali, but specifically a beach called Uluwatu. Now, at the bottom of the stairs, as you walk down out of the cave, there's the most amazing blue ocean. There's beautiful waves for surfing, snorkeling, laying on the beach. It's just fabulous. But in order to get there, you've got to start at the top and take about 15 or 20 steps down this staircase to get out to the bottom. So imagine for a second if, say, the top 6 or 7 steps weren't there. Or imagine if half the steps weren't there. And it was just this big gap down to the bottom half of the steps. It would massively reduce the number of people that make it down the cave and out into the beautiful blue ocean. The important thing to remember is that we need all of the steps there so that people can make their way down, so that people can take baby steps, because it doesn't matter how wonderful the promised land is. In this case, it's the waves and the beach. In your business, it's the outcomes that you and your product and your service can help them achieve. It doesn't matter how wonderful that is. If people can't get there by taking baby steps, you're missing a huge opportunity. And the way that looks online is having all the different building blocks in place so that people can get to know you, get to like you, and get to trust you by taking baby steps as they go. So let me bring this back to specifics of digital marketing. But what we want are a few building blocks so that people can firstly get to know you, then get to like you, then get to trust you, and then become a client. So again, this diagram is available to you in the Deal Fuel library. Go ahead and download that, access that for free. But the reason we need all these different steps in place just like the staircase taking you down to the cave, is because very few people are going to go from not knowing you to becoming a client in one step. And if all you've got is like a buy now page or an inquire now page on your website, but no other little steps for people to get to know, like, and trust you, you're expecting them to take too big a jump and they're going to fall down the cracks or not do it. So what are the steps? The things to keep in mind here are the steps. When we're starting out, most people are looking for information, right? So they're turning to the internet, their phone, whatever, they're looking for information. So 75% of the time, people are looking for information about how to fix a problem, how to get to a destination or an outcome that's meaningful to them. So they start by Googling or looking stuff up on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn or asking ChatGPT or whatever. So what we actually need to have, firstly, is some no-risk content. So content that's totally free, where there's no opt-in required, and people can remain anonymous. So the building blocks here, the steps to put in place, is having content that is literally that, totally free, no opt-in required, they can be anonymous. So for example, blog articles, videos, podcasts, interviews, or infographics that you've created where people can get a feel for you straight away without having to identify themselves or put their name and email address anywhere. Because once they've watched or consumed the no-risk content, well, then there needs to be another baby step where they then do identify themselves and you invite them into your marketing ecosystem. Typically, this takes the form of a call to action, a CTA, some sort of offer where they can get what I call low-risk content. So here, we're basically asking for people to register for something or identify themselves via email or sometimes social media, like joining a Facebook group, for example. And the reason they're going to do that is because you have something of value that they want and you're willing to give it away for free, but they need to identify themselves. So it could be, again, flagship content, templates, reports, lead magnets, downloads, resources, a calculator like a spreadsheet or something like that, where you offer that, or some sort of mini training, something that you can offer them and they go, yes, please, I want that. I'll put my name and email in here, or I will join a Facebook group with my name, through my personal profile, and then they get to know you. So that's 75% of the time people are looking for information. Then, actually, let's give a few examples of that. The simplest thing is to have a blog or something on your website where you're publishing content. It could be blogs, podcasts, videos. No risk. People have a look, they read it, and then if they like it, well, then they can then choose to download something. At its simplest, you just want to have something like a free download or even a newsletter. Now, this is as simple as it gets, like putting their name and email into a sign-up form. Now, that's very basic, it's very crude, but that's the bare bones. As you get more sophisticated, you would more than likely set up a proper landing page where you've got a 3D image of what people can download. In fact, I'll even just pull up an example of a more sophisticated thing to be aiming for, because there's a few elements on here for the more sophisticated people, which many of you are. So you're going to want things like social proof and everything else. So let me just share this as it loads up of one of the landing pages that I use on my website. So this is where I would send, this is where people come to download a social media planning template. So you can see here some of the features you'll notice on this page. It's got a headline, it explains what they're getting. There's an image, a 3D icon image of what they can get. There's a couple of bullet points as to what they are going to get and why they would want it. And then literally a button that they can click to access it. Now mine's a two-step opt-in process, so they click the button and then they enter their details here. It doesn't matter if it's just all on one page. And then there's social proof and everything else that comes underneath it. So that's a more sophisticated example of people being able to opt in. Right, so that's an example of the top part, people getting to know you. Then 23% of the time, people are then comparing their options. So they're comparing you to other suppliers or your product to other people's product. And they're also comparing your offer to, or your solution, to doing it themselves. So why would they bother paying money when they could probably work this out on their own or build something on their own, or in fact, not even worry about it? So that's why when they're comparing their options, we really want to have different ways for people to get to know, like, and trust us, or get to like us specifically. That's where social media is really useful. An about us page, they can learn about you. Testimonials, frequently asked questions, guarantees, demos, trials, webinars, newsletters, and endorsements. All of these things serve to allow the right people to get to like you. A couple of examples, like reviews and testimonials are great. It's social proof, whether it's a Google review or a product review or a video of a happy customer. They're all really good ways for people to get to like you, as is featuring people in your community. So whether there's team members, whether it's you, whether it's your clients, or anything where you can feature the people and the stories and the personalities involved. Of course, people are human. Human nature means that we gravitate towards real stories, real people. So the more you can sort of shine the light on that, the better too. So there are a couple of examples of the second part of that content marketing sales funnel. The third part, folks, is just getting the trust. Like once they get to know you, once they get to like you, the next step is when they trust you. And this is typically the final 2% of the time when people are ready to take action. They've got a problem, they've researched it, they found a few people to connect with, they've compared their options, they've got to like you, so they make the inquiry. And often that's just a contact us form or an inquiry that they make by picking up the phone, or they click the buy now button to then put in their information. And once they do, or they sign up, then they become a client. And then happy days from there. So what we're trying to do is build each of those building blocks so people can take baby steps to get to know, like, and trust you, to go from a stranger to a client. So take a moment now, folks, just to pop down some ideas and action items. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. And we'll get back into it. So part 3 or 4 of this presentation. What happens, let's tackle the elephant in the room. What happens when we get negative comments? Now, negative comments aren't always the end of the world. Here's actually one I got from my book, Web Marketing That Works. It is a 1-star review. It says the book's content is good, however, the file format is not compatible with my Kindle. So it says, Amazon Kindle, you really screw up consumers. So their gripe isn't with my book or me or anything. It's the fact that they can't get their Kindle to work properly. So obviously a 1-star review doesn't sound good, but at the end of the day, when you read a lot of 1-star reviews, it doesn't actually reflect bad on the people that they're leaving it for. So don't get too hung up about negative reviews. The golden rule with negative reviews is to follow the 3 A's. Acknowledge, apologize, and act. So this is for genuine negative reviews, that people who either are a genuine customer, have had a genuine experience with you, but for some reason you might have dropped the ball, or they didn't have the experience that you wanted them to. So here's an example. I wouldn't recommend using blank if you were considering something. A terrible experience and incredibly poor professionalism. I would highly recommend choosing other people. That's a negative comment. Now the reply follows this 3A process. Hi Amy, thanks for your feedback. So you've acknowledged them. Sorry to hear you are unhappy with our services and would very much like to discuss your experience further. So again, this is an apology, but sorry you were unhappy. And then they're acting. The next part of their response is, please feel free to contact our customer service officer or director. Here's the number. We would appreciate the opportunity to resolve your concerns. So they've acknowledged, they've apologized, they've acted. So as a framework, that will nearly always stand you in good stead for a genuine negative comment. But in actual fact, there are, of course, not all comments are created equal. So there's a bit of a hierarchy of comments here. And the fact there's 6. Oftentimes, any comment can be classified in one of these. So 1, it's a positive comment. And we actually tend to get more positive comments than negative comments. Neutral comments, negative comments that you respond to, negative comments that you ignore, negative comments that you delete, and then a crisis comment. So I have got a framework on my next slide that I'll share with you. But oftentimes, let's look at the first one, positive comments. Most of the time, if we get a positive comment, most of the time we just ignore it, which is bizarre and crazy because it's a golden opportunity to say thank you to somebody and to engage with them, engage with a happy person. But often we just are so paranoid about negative comments, we completely neglect to review and to respond to the positive comments. Same deal for a neutral comment. Might be somebody asking a question or just stating that, I don't know, they've bought something or met you or something else. It's not positive, not negative. Again, these are golden opportunities to engage with these people with a public comment, replying to them. You might even instigate a private conversation with them as well. Then we've got 3 different types of negative comments. So we've got negative comments that you respond to, which I've just covered. Apologize, acknowledge, apologize, and act. 99% of your comments are going to be in that category 3 of the negative ones. There are some negative comments that you ignore. Now, in this particular case, it's more like a troll. So sometimes people are there just to get a reaction out of you, and they'll be making antagonistic comments where they're hoping that you'll, engage and get caught up in their sort of online fight. A lot of the times these trolls just want attention and they want to draw people in. So sometimes it's best just to ignore them. The saying goes, don't feed the trolls. Then you've got a negative comment that you might delete. Now, generally speaking, you wouldn't want to delete too many. You don't want to delete genuine negative comments because, one, people are going to have already screenshotted it and say you're just deleting stuff, you're trying to sweep it under the carpet, and you're going to cause even more of a scene. So normally I would just recommend the 3 A's, acknowledge, apologize, and act. But there are some you are going to want to delete, and it depends on where they've taken place. Like if it's a Facebook If it's in like your private Facebook community or something like that, then you've got the power to delete some comments, assuming this is relevant where you can delete comments. But if there's anything spammy or that breaches your house rules, say of a Facebook group, you can set certain expectations of behavior. If people breach those things and say inappropriate stuff or leave negative comments that don't abide by your house rules, then you're well within your rights to delete those. I always recommend just taking a screenshot so you've got proof and evidence of all the different comments that have been taken down. But category 6 is a crisis comment, and by this I mean anything that can cause legal or criminal, anything with legal or criminal or reputational ramifications. So for example, if someone threatened violence, or there was a bomb threat, or a reputational attack on somebody where it was a serious situation. In these crisis situations, it's often best to escalate this matter to police or lawyers or what have you, because say for example, they're all extreme cases. That's why it's category 6. They rarely happen, but when they do, they can be a disaster. So say it was like a bomb threat, but delivered as a Facebook comment, or a threat of violence. Those are the types of things you need to get a screenshot and escalate to somebody like police or what have you. So team, I do have a framework here that you can download or get a screenshot. I'll just move my head out of the way. The negative comments response template. So again, 6 categories: a description, an example of a burger joint, so very generic, and then a response process that you may like to follow. Now on that template, there is a blank side on the back so that you can put your own version of how you respond to these things. And that is available in the Deal Fuel library. So team, let's bring it home now and talk about the importance of all roads leading to your email and that personal connection. So email is a much better asset than social media. It's better for customer acquisition. It's an asset that you actually own. So once somebody subscribes to your newsletter and you've got their email address, you're not at the mercy of Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram's algorithm. You can communicate with those people when you want. It's an asset that you own versus social media, which essentially you rent. They can change the rules. They can start charging you money. They can change the algorithm so you get less visibility. But email is an asset that you own. Engagement rate is way higher on email. So a typical social media engagement might be 0.58 according to Opt-in Monster. When you think about how much stuff's on the news feed, when you're watching it on your phone, most people scroll past most stuff and just stop to read, a very small amount. But email has a nearly 23% open rate. Not to mention that the click-through rate on email is phenomenally high, whereas social media, it isn't. Like even if they do stop to look at your post in their feed, the click-through rate is very minimal as well. So email is king. I would be using social media as the no risk type content, so people can discover you, get to know you a little bit, and then have calls to action if you want my flagship content or the lead magnet or whatever you want to call it. Go here, so that then they can opt in with their email. The more you can build your email list, the better lead flow. They're all potential customers. There's all of that. So tremendous value in the email list. So folks, speaking of resources, all of the temp marketing templates that I've mentioned today, all available to you in the Deal Fuel library. And a quote to finish on. This is my running coach and friend Sean Bowes. He says, train hard, win easy. So folks, when you get in the habit of like doing a little bit each day, building out these digital assets, putting them all in place, then you're really building a tremendous asset for yourself and your business. Just like when Sean puts on his running shoes and goes for a run, or does some exercises, or does some stretching, or eats right, you know, it builds, it compounds day in, day out, and it might be 3 months down the track or 3 years down the track, but you're just building this tremendous advantage, a tremendous asset, so that it's you who'll be crossing the finish line in the lead, not all of the other competitors in the marketplace. But also enjoy yourself. Digital marketing is fun. It is enjoyable. If you're doing a business that you love and that you're passionate about and you like helping people, well, then it's an enjoyable process to actually be sharing content, helping people, nurturing them towards the outcome or the transformation that they want. If you've got any questions for me, please feel free to send me an email or even just to reach out on LinkedIn, or my details are all on the slide there. The team, been an absolute pleasure taking you through this training, and yeah, let's keep in touch and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.